Hello and welcome back to the High Altitude Investing live stream. Today is May 31st and it's going to be a good day. Good live stream. Let's share the link everywhere so everybody can tune in to today's stream. Pull up Discord here. Share the link here. Yeah, so hope everybody's been having a good week. Good morning and afternoon for some of you. It's already noon, so normally I stream early in the day, like 10, but I was at a fire last night with a whole bunch of friends, a big bonfire, playing guitar, hanging out with friends, having a good time. So yeah, slept in. Operation Shutdown. What is up? Thank you for tuning in to today's live stream. So you guys can just start making requests. I am going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin today, but the main purpose of today's stream is to keep you guys aware of the psychology that you should have during times like this, because a lot of people get afraid, they get feeling like they should sell, they get a little bit worried about what's going to happen to the markets. And so today's stream is primarily about staying focused on the bigger picture and keeping your eyes on the prize, because it's really easy to get caught up in the short-term bumps along the road and start to kind of freak out. So that's the main purpose of today's live stream. So as far as Bitcoin goes, we did pull back a little bit further here on Bitcoin. So in the last two live streams that I made, the last live stream that I made, I talked a little bit about it going lower, and the one before that, I talked about how I could easily see a correction on Bitcoin because of the moon cycle. So Bitcoin does have a tendency to pull back during a new moon. This isn't 100% of the time. It's not like you can just go be the best trader in the entire world by just following the moon cycle. But on a full moon, it tends to go up, and on a new moon, it has a tendency to go down. And that's exactly what happened. So 2 live streams ago, I mentioned that the 26th would be a new moon and that would be bearish. And you can look right here. Here is the new moon. And look how hard the markets dropped right after the new moon right there. So kind of cool how strong of a correlation there is between the full moon and the new moon for crypto. Go study the charts, especially in the bigger time frames, because obviously the moon cycle is kind of bigger. It takes time for a new moon and a full moon to happen, but definitely worth understanding. And this is not an end-all be-all indicator. There's no such thing as an end-all be-all indicator that's right 100% of the time, but it is extremely helpful and it works fairly consistently. Like, it's definitely one of the best indicators that there is. Jim says it's definitely not crashing. You know, I actually agree with you. But it crashed a little bit right on the smaller time frames, but it's not like a big crazy crash, and not any reason to be like super bearish or freak out. A lot of people in my comment section, though, they have been saying like, oh my gosh, Dallin, the end of the crypto markets is here, and it's only fell like 3-5% from the peak. So kind of funny how people say that. Hi, Dallin, hope you're doing well, bud. Is SHX worth holding? Play us a tune today. Man, I didn't bring my guitar, or I totally would play you a tune on my guitar today, but it's in my house. So, but yeah, let's talk about SHX. And by the way, just as a general kind of overview of Bitcoin and the total market cap, I'm bullish on both of them. And definitely don't freak out. Don't get scared. People get scared easily. The markets are totally bullish still. I know some people are calling this a crash. I titled this live stream "Crypto is Crashing" mainly because of the short term that happened, right? On the 1 hour time frame, we crashed a little bit here. But in all reality, it's not like some big crash has happened or is starting. So that'd be my general kind of overview of Bitcoin and the total market cap. Don't be afraid of a little pullback. This has happened the whole way up. It's going to keep happening all the way to new all-time highs. We're going to continue to have little corrections along the way up, and it'll crash on smaller time frames. That's just how it is. It's just the nature of the market. But in the bigger picture, our trend is very strong and very, very bullish. So let's talk about SHX. And your question was, is SHX a good hold? And right away, without even looking at a chart, I can tell you that yes, SHX is a good hold. So let's go out to the higher time frame, like the daily here. And actually, we got to go away from MEXC because I don't have enough data. I'm pretty sure that we are doing this on Gate.io maybe last time. Yeah, Gate.io. There we go. So SHX is in an established uptrend right now. And we actually have hidden bullish divergence. So I've talked a lot about regular bullish divergence, but I haven't talked a lot about hidden bullish divergence. And it's a little bit different. So there's two types of divergence. There's classic divergence and there's hidden divergence. And both classic divergence and hidden divergence can both be bullish or bearish depending on what direction they're happening in. So here's an example of hidden bullish divergence. So normally when you're looking for bullish divergence, you're looking at a lower low in price. So the price of the stock or the coin or whatever you're trading makes a lower low. And your indicator, whether it be the MACD or the RSI, which are two of the most popular indicators in the world, they're very, very, very useful. And both of them can show you bullish or bearish divergence. In the case of regular, normal bullish divergence, the price makes a lower low and the indicator makes a higher low. So that's regular, standard bullish divergence. In other words, the indicator is diverging from the price. And it shows it's a buy signal, right? That's regular bullish divergence. Now, bearish divergence would be if the price makes a higher high, but the indicator makes a lower high. So now that's bearish divergence, regular bearish divergence. That would show a sell signal that the market is going to go lower, that you'd expect a lot more downside or a reversal, from the bullish trend, or just downside in general as a result of that bearish divergence. Now, hidden bullish divergence is different than regular bullish divergence. Hidden bullish divergence is where price makes a higher high like this, or a higher low. So you have a low right here and then a higher low right here. And the indicator makes a lower low. So that's hidden bullish divergence. And actually, that's what called the whole bottom on Bitcoin. So we'll come back to SHX in just a second. But in my VIP area, for the people that are part of my VIP area, you guys already know this. But I posted hidden bullish divergence on Bitcoin down here is 75K. So here's an example of hidden bullish divergence that already played out. So we have our low right here on Bitcoin. Then we have a higher low. See that? So a low and then a higher low. But the indicator down here makes a low and a lower low. So that's hidden bullish divergence. And we saw this in the VIP area. I posted about this right here at like 76K per Bitcoin. Because I was aware of how powerful hidden bullish divergence really is. And you can see what happened as a result of that hidden bullish divergence is we went all the way up to a new all-time high on Bitcoin. So it's a very, very, very powerful signal and one that you can definitely use to find bullish or bearish reversals. So back over to SHX, you can see with SHX, we have exactly the same thing happening. So we have a low right here and a higher low. So here's our low and our higher low. And then over here we have our low on the MACD and a lower low. So that's hidden bullish divergence. This is actually kind of like what Bitcoin looked like before Bitcoin did this. Like that. So it can be a very, very strong buy signal to see that hidden bullish divergence. And a lot of people don't know about it. So it's even better because if everybody knows about a certain trading strategy, its effectiveness is going to go down, right? And if you look right here, you can just go to Google Images and you'll get tons of examples of what it looks like for hidden or regular bullish or bearish divergence. So that's how that works. So yeah, SHX does look not only bullish right now, but there's hidden bullish divergence, which is really good. It has a higher high, higher low pattern, which is really good. See, higher high, higher low, higher high, and higher low. So you can see that we're starting to form an uptrend, and we have bullish hidden divergence. Operation Shutdown says you called it. Yeah, the moon cycle is pretty powerful. If you pay attention to the moon cycle, it's not 100% of the time, but I'd say like 70% of the time, a new moon is going to be bearish and a full moon is going to be bullish. Now, how bullish or how bearish it is during that period can be different. And it doesn't happen every time. Sometimes it's bullish on a new moon. Sometimes it's bearish on a full moon. But overall, it tends to happen that way. So you can just add the moon phases indicator to your trading view just by looking for it. It's just called moon phases. And it's right there. So it's very, very helpful. So that's how I was able to kind of determine the markets were probably going to pull back on the 26th, and that's exactly what happened. Is that indicator free? What's the name of the moon cycles? Yeah, so it's called moon phases, and it is completely free to use the moon phases indicator. As far as I know, I have TradingView Pro. So I don't know if you can only add certain indicators on TradingView Pro, but I'm pretty sure it's available to everybody. So Chart Chaser says hi. Hey, what's up, Chart Chasers? Thank you for tuning in to the stream. I don't think I've seen you here before, so thank you for taking some time to tune in today. Seems like the whales keeping it low before a blast off. Yeah, what they really like to do, the whales, they really like to shake people out. That's the whole nature of markets, is to shake people out. So there's always really big pumps that get people super excited, so they FOMO by the top, and really big crashes that scare people, so they all sell. That's exactly what happened to Bitcoin. And it's crazy to see this over and over again, especially since I've been trading and investing in these markets for 8 years now. 8 or 9 years. I have to go look again. I forget, but that's besides the point. So every single time the market pulls back like this, people really have a tendency, what I've seen over and over again, people have a really, really strong tendency to freak out because it's a shakeout, right? So the whales, whether it's a big shakeout or a little shakeout like what we're seeing right now, the whales have a tendency to, they take profits. So the market doesn't have any more liquidity to keep going up. There's no more fuel left for the fire. So they take profits and the market pulls back. And then everybody freaks out. They get shaken out. They sell. And they regret it later. I mean, think of how many people were bearish down here. It's 75,000 per coin. And I was telling everybody on my streams to keep buying because I knew exactly what was happening. I've seen these shakeouts so many times. I've been watching Bitcoin since 2014. I've been trading and investing in Bitcoin since 2016. No, I got that wrong. I've been watching Bitcoin since 2014, and I've been trading and investing in Bitcoin since 2015, and I got really into it in 2016 and 2017, and I've been doing it ever since. So the amount of times that I've seen Bitcoin die, it's never going to recover again. It's dead. That's what everybody would say, right? And it just keeps breaking out to new all-time highs. Why? Because Bitcoin is something that is in a very, 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 very powerful uptrend. It's a new technology, and people are excited about it. So there's demand. So it goes up in value. So anytime people are saying Bitcoin is dead, or if everybody's calling a top, it's almost impossible that that's going to be the top or the bottom of the market. The majority is pretty much always going to be wrong. If you want to be a good trader and investor, go against the crowd. And the fact of the matter is, down here at 75K per Bitcoin, everybody was bearish, like most everybody. And so you have to go against the crowd, Do TRX. Yeah, let's do some TRX analysis. So TRX is actually a very, very, very good looking coin. For people that don't know about Tron, the reason I like this coin so much is because of how consistent and how steady the uptrend is here. You can see a very, very sustained uptrend for Tron. You can see there really hasn't even been any big corrections. The biggest correction we saw was in 2021 when everything was going down, right? Everything topped out in 2021, and in 2022, the whole altcoin market did. And so Tron went down a little bit. But if you look at the market right now, look how strong, how steady, and how powerful this uptrend is. It's just consistently increasing in value. There was a little correction here, but that was also a crazy, crazy FOMO wick where people got really, really excited up here. It was going parabolic really fast, and it was unsustainable. But overall, my favorite thing about the Tron chart is how steady and how consistent the uptrend is. You can just see it's just steadily going up. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And what's really cool about this too is the Tron chart is actually a perfect example of what you should be looking for an early market cycle. So I talk about market cycles a lot on this channel and how important it is to be aware of the market cycle. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know how to do is see an early cycle, like before the cycle is taking off, before it's blowing up and going nuts. A lot of people don't know how to see what it looks like before it happens. In fact, that's one of the biggest problems people have with trading. They go learn all these trading strategies. They go learn all this stuff about trading and investing. But it all seems like it's hindsight, right? They're all like, well, that's cool. That looks like a cool trading strategy. But how do I apply this in the market when it's happening? That's like one of the biggest problems people have. And to understand what cycles look like and what fractals look like early on, before they take off, that's really how you get over that. You have to understand what the cycle looks like and what the fractals look like so you're able to get an idea of what it looks like when it really starts to take off, right? So let's pull up our NASDAQ composite over here. And here's the internet bubble. So this is like a perfect example of a market cycle. The IXIC on TradingView is the NASDAQ Composite Index, and it's like a perfect example of what a market cycle looks like. And what I want to show you here is how early on in the cycle, what did the NASDAQ do? The NASDAQ just made higher highs and higher lows. You see this early on over here on the right? And if you look at Tron is doing the same thing. So if you ever see a very sustainable, consistent, higher high, higher low kind of pattern, that's a really good sign. If the market's going like this, that's usually a pretty bad sign. That's unsustainable. But if the market is making steady, consistent, higher highs and higher lows, then you get this really, really nice setup for a parabolic run, because once it builds up enough momentum, then it goes into the whole unsustainable phase of the market cycle. But that's what a market cycle looks like early on. Steady, consistent, higher high and higher lows. And if you look at Bitcoin, and we pull up Bitcoin over here, on Bitstamp, so we have a little more data. That's exactly what Bitcoin was doing over here early on in its uptrend. Before 2017 happened and Bitcoin went completely nuts and super, super vertical, look how steady and consistent that uptrend was on Bitcoin. It looks a lot like the NASDAQ over here. Yeah, there's corrections along the way up, but overall it's just steadily climbing in a very sustainable sort of way. And that's what you want to see, because you know if that's coming, then the market's probably going to go parabolic. And that's exactly what happened with both the NASDAQ over here on the right and with Bitcoin over there on the left. So that's what a market cycle looks like. And what's crazy, before it breaks out and goes parabolic, right? Not hindsight. That's what a market looks like. And what's crazy is if you look at what happened afterwards, look at that. Isn't it crazy how both Bitcoin and the NASDAQ looked identical early on in their uptrends when they were just steadily forming higher highs and higher lows? But not only that, look how perfect they look afterwards. Look at that. They're exactly the same. So not only did they start out the same, but they ended up playing out the same even during the parabolic run and the subsequent bear market and the double bottom that came afterwards. They both did the exact same thing, but both of them started out as just a steady higher high, higher low pattern. That's how they started out. So if you can learn how to kind of see that, and that's one reason I really, really, really like Tron, because it looks like one of those early day, just steady uptrends, is that it's probably gonna take off in the same way that both of these cycles did. And what's also cool about this is this really brings home what I'm always talking about in all of my live streams and videos and everything all the time, is that markets are fractal in nature. Markets are fractal in nature. And it doesn't matter what time frame you're looking at, it's going to be a fractal. And you can see over here on Bitcoin, we're on the 5-day, but over here with the NASDAQ, we're on the 2-week. So completely different time frames, completely different markets, but they did the exact same thing. And you have to ask yourself, why? Like, what is the thing causing that? And it's pretty simple, right? If you go study markets, what does everybody do when they're trading markets? They get too excited and they get too fearful. And so that human emotion plays out on these charts over and over again on different time scales, different markets across the board. It's really cool. Very, very, very powerful to understand that. So yeah, I'm bullish on Tron if you didn't get what I'm putting down there. And also, one more thing here. So we have the NASDAQ on the right, but look what happens if we pull up silver. And I've shown this in other live streams too, so some of you guys have already seen this. But look what happens if we pull up silver. Where have we seen that before? Isn't that amazing? It's just it's like so cool to me that markets are fractal in nature and that they're self-similar across all time frames. You can see the same patterns over and over again. And I'm telling you right now, this is how I've helped my friends make money. I've made money using this pattern. This is how just understanding this one thing has saved me from so many crazy times where I probably would have given up on crypto, where I probably would have not bought any more, where I probably would have stopped doing YouTube videos if I didn't understand this one thing about markets. that they're cyclical in nature and they're fractal in nature. So let's talk about some other coins now. Game Changer says Velo. Let's pull up Velo. Drink a little water here. And by the way, thank you guys all for tuning in. We've got a bunch of people tuning in, and I really appreciate it. So, Velo is actually kind of a similar thing as what I was just talking about. What you want to see is a higher high, higher low pattern. That's how uptrends start. And they don't start out parabolic. They start out like this. Sometimes barely getting up above the last high, sometimes coming back down, sometimes even going like that and then going like this. They don't start with a lot of momentum. They start kind of boring. That's why, if it was exciting and going straight up, then everybody would be buying it. And once everybody's buying it, it's usually too late, or it will be too late soon. But they start out kind of boring. They start out kind of looking like this, just all choppy and kind of random and all slow. But once they build their momentum, that's when things get exciting. That's when everybody tells their friends. That's when the market starts to go parabolic, and then obviously at some point overvalued. And so that's why here with Velo, kind of similar to Tron in a lot of ways, we're starting to make that higher high, higher low pattern here on Velo. And I see it breaking out above this local high. And because it's been kind of slow here, like all good uptrends start, it should start to pick up soon and get a little bit more exciting. And in the next year or two, so by like 2027, you could see this thing going straight parabolic. In fact, this year, like especially as we get closer to the end of the year, you're going to see this coin pick up faster and faster to where it's more and more parabolic. But by the time 2027 is here, this thing could be going straight vertical, like that. And also, it's pretty common to see huge rounded bottoms in crypto. Very, very common. Ryan Gagner says, what about the moon phase? What's up, Ryan? Good to see you tuning into today's live stream, my friend. So, yeah, we were just talking about the moon phase. There is a little bit longer for the new moon phase. The way the moon phase works, when it's a new moon, it's probably going to go down. When it's a full moon, the markets are probably going to go up. But with that being said, some moon phases go up a lot higher than others, and some new moon phases go a lot lower than others. So some of them are kind of small. So we did have a new moon on the 26th, like I was talking about in my last live stream and the one before that. And I mentioned how the markets would probably pull back because of the new moon phase, right? They did start to pull back. The thing is, though, that doesn't mean that they're just going to keep pulling back all the way to the next moon phase, the full moon, which should be bullish. But what it does mean is it can pull back, and then sometimes it just goes like that, sideways, or a little bit lower, something like this, and then up like that. It doesn't have to go down the entire new moon phase. But a lot of times it does go down at least some. So it's helpful to understand. And of course, it's not 100% signal. If I knew 100% signal for these markets, you'd never lose any money ever. You'd just be perfect all the time. And that's just not how trading works. So, what are some good coins to watch? You know, some of my favorite coins right now to be paying attention to in the market is Theta. Theta is one of my top favorite coins to be paying attention to. I've seen this pattern before. I know what happens after it breaks out. And I'm very, very, very excited for the parabolic run that's coming for Theta. So that'd be one to pay attention to. A lot of people say, well, you can't buy Theta anywhere. It's on Binance. You know, like you can go to Binance US, sign up in 5 minutes, put some USDT there or trade for some Bitcoin for USDT, and you can buy Theta. It's really easy. So that'd be one definitely to put on your radar for like a top hold. Another really good one that I've been paying attention to lately and a lot, Litecoin. And I know people hear me talk about Litecoin and they go, Dallin, what are you doing talking about coins that were created forever ago? Isn't that coin dead? What are you talking about here with Litecoin? The reason I like Litecoin so much is because of the institutional accumulation. This coin has a lot of institutional accumulation. Like billions and billions of dollars of institutional accumulation. And if you follow the money, it helps a lot in your trading and your investing because you're going to make a lot of money. If you follow the big players, if you do what the whales are doing, if you can tune into their frequency like a radio dial, then you're going to make money because they're the ones making all the money. It's all the noob traders that are retail traders that are just trading based on emotion or because of some tweet that they saw or some video they got excited about. It's those guys that lose all their money. But it's the big players and the whales that are printing money in these markets over and over and over again. And actually, XLM would be another coin that I'm very excited about. XRP as well. I know some people are like, how can you like XRP and XLM at the same time? You guys, I trade charts. I don't care what coins you guys have married or what communities you guys have fallen in love with. Look at the charts. Who cares? If it's going to go up in value in a big way, put money into it. You know? Like, my goal is to get rich. Like, very, very rich in these markets. Not to marry some coin just because I think it's cool. And XLM and Litecoin look very, very similar in market structure. And actually, this is a huge multi-year accumulation pattern on both of these charts. And the multi-year accumulation pattern has a tendency to lead to a massive breakout. So now let me pull up an example of one of those multi-year accumulation charts. So we'll pull up NVIDIA as the best example. But there's tons of them out there. If you go looking around, you can find a lot of examples of different stocks, different coins that have done these multi-year accumulations and then broken out into big bull markets and done something that made a lot of people very rich. And you can see with NVIDIA over here on the left and Stellar Lumens over here on the right, both Stellar Lumens and NVIDIA and Litecoin all did the exact same multi-year accumulation pattern. So what do you think is going to happen when billions of dollars worth of institutional money has been buying something for 8 years or 10 years, or in the case of NVIDIA, 15 years, because stock cycles are longer than crypto cycles? What do you think is going to happen? You know? It's just like, think about it. Dallin, my friend, I got a question. I saw Piercoin, an altcoin. What are your thoughts on that one? Now around 22 euros. And its all-time high was 20.22 euros, so 22 cents in terms of euro. All-time high around 8 euros. You know, I have not looked at Piercoin in many, many moons, but I'm happy to check it out for you. Let's see if I can find even a place to trade it. Piercoin. It's on Mexi. Cool. Didn't even know it was traded anywhere. So in terms of US dollars, it's worth 25 cents. And there is an ABC correction down here, but there isn't any volume. So let's see if we can pull up the Mexi chart. Maybe there's volume on Mexi. Yes, there is. So there isn't a lot of historical data here, probably because it looks like it probably got removed off a lot of different exchanges. And now it's only on Mexi, so it kind of went ghost mode for a while. It wasn't traded anywhere. So here's a trick you guys can do if you don't know about this. Go to charts.cointrader.pro, and this is like a free version of TradingView. So if you guys don't have TradingView Pro and you're annoyed about ads, this is kind of a cheat, a little hack to be able to use TradingView Pro. I mean, it doesn't have all of the features of TradingView Pro, but you don't have to deal with ads, and it's pretty useful still. So let's pull up Piercoin. And the reason I'm coming here is because we might get more historical data. And yes, we do. See how when I went to tradingview.com, the only place that we could find Piercoin was on Mexi, and there's like no data. There's only like a year or two worth of data. Historical chart data is important. Like, you need to have as much data as you possibly can have. And here with Piercoin, if you go over to charts.cointrader.pro, because it pulls it from every exchange that has ever existed, at least that are connected to CoinMarketCap, you get the whole historical data. And you can see with Piercoin, this goes all the way back to 2014. So you can see multiple crypto cycles here with Piercoin. Now, the thing that I'd ask about this coin, how much volume? Because volume is really important. And if there isn't any trading volume, some of these altcoins never, ever recover. So let's pull up Piercoin on CoinMarketCap. And if you look at Piercoin on CoinMarketCap and take a look at 24-hour trading volume, it's only $20,000 in 24-hour trading volume, which is pretty low, considering the fact that there's been periods of time where millions of these things were traded. Like in 2017, millions of dollars worth, and in 2014. And I'm not saying it can't recover, but we definitely would need to see some pretty big volume spikes come into this thing soon. And we'd probably want to see it listed on more exchanges than only Mexi, because there's only $20,000 of volume here. So we'd want to see some other stuff happen for this coin to really take off. I'm not saying it can't. It totally can. But currently, I'd like to see it on more exchanges, and I'd like to see more volume coming in. With that being said, it's also near a major all-time support level. So a lot of times you can see a reaction off of those support levels. It's just a question of how big that reaction will be. If this doesn't get added to any major exchanges, if a big community doesn't start to get built around this, if there isn't any real development and growth for the coin, if there's no demand for it, essentially, it's not going to just go straight up and go vertical and pump. We have to have volume, community, demand for that to happen. So, but it could have a bounce down here. I'm not saying it can't bounce off major support since it is on MEXC. So at least there's a fairly popular exchange that it is listed on right now. Let's see. William Harvey says, I grew up in Utah in Sugar House area. I live in Florida now. I was just wondering. Wondering what, William? But yeah, Utah is really fun. I love Utah. It's like one of my top, definitely one of the funnest places I've lived. I've lived in Santa Monica. I lived in Las Vegas. I kind of traveled around and lived in Airbnbs all around America a little bit. But my favorite places ever to live, definitely Vernal and Vegas. Like I live in Vernal, Utah, this teeny little town. But all my family's here. There's fishing everywhere, really close to the mountains. It's really cool here. But yeah, my favorite places are Utah and Las Vegas. I had a lot of fun in Vegas, probably too much fun in Vegas, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So Big Asian says, hello, Dallin. What is up, Big Asian? Good to see you tuning in, my friend. BCH to $50,000. Well, that's a pretty high call, man. I mean, I did call for 20,000, so my call is pretty high too. But yeah, that's 50K is pretty up there. It's pretty high. William Harvey. Yes, I do live in Utah. I do live out here in Utah. Can you do TA on ICP? Oh, and 4Q Tube says I'm moving to southern Utah from Las Vegas in a few months. Nice, man. I think you'll like it out here. There's a lot of really cool people, a lot of good people. I mean, every place has pros and cons, but I think you'll like Utah. Especially southern Utah is really cool, like St. George area. Utah is just a fun place, so I think you'll like it out here. ICP. Yeah, so my view on ICP really hasn't changed. I have a drawing up right here. And what I'm kind of looking for this coin, because of mass adoption for crypto, a lot of coins are going to do big recoveries that a lot of people are going to be like, whoa, that was dead. That coin was dead. There's no way that that's going to recover. And then boom, all of a sudden it does. I mean, look at what happened to pretty much every single coin out there. Look at Ethereum. Not everyone. There are quite a few altcoins that die, to be fair to the skeptics out there. But look what happened to Ethereum, you know? Looked completely dead. Crashed 90+%. Did a double bottom and fully recovered in a massive rounded bottom structure. For internet computer, I think will do the exact same thing as Ethereum. Strong recovery, strong reversal. And honestly, if you really think about it, people don't think like this. They want to find something that's exciting, like a shiny object, and they want to go where everybody else is going. They want to do what's cool. They want to do that's easy. They want to do something that's just obvious. And the truth is, good opportunities, unless you've trained yourself to see them, are not going to just yell at you. You have to learn how to see them. And a lot of times a really good opportunity looks really bad to a lot of other people until it's cool and everybody's doing it. And that's the same thing with new technology. You know, every new technology that we've ever seen, there was always a huge group of people that thought that it was a fad, that thought that it was going to die, that thought that it was stupid, that didn't see any value in it. They didn't see opportunity there. But what happened was it became useful. And it was adopted by the public. And people started using it every day. And there's always like one or two people out there that won't use the internet, even to this day. But most everybody uses the internet every single day. And that's just how new technologies work. There's a lot of resistance at the start until everybody sees that it's useful, and then social proof starts to kick in, which is a very strong biological response inside of the human psyche. And once social proof starts to take effect, everybody thinks it's cool and they use it all the time. So yeah, something like this, it looks like there's no opportunity, and it can totally recover and just blow up and blow people away and go nuts. Totally possible. And I am bullish on ICP. I didn't say amount. I said how many different coins you have, 20 to 50, just BTC and Ethereum probably. I don't have a lot of coins. I try to keep it very, very small, because if you get like 30, 40 coins, it's really, really, really hard to keep track of it all. In the 2017 bull market, what happened was I went from working at a Marriott hotel, making $9.30 an hour, to like going all in on my YouTube channel and making just shy of $1 million in a single year by the time I was 21. And I'm telling you right now, when you do that, you have money everywhere. Like money you forgot about on hundreds of exchanges, crazy coins that you bought, like just stuff everywhere. The problem is you don't remember where all that stuff is. So what ends up happening is you just lose money. You don't know where it's at. You don't remember what exchanges you signed up for. And because you're making money so fast and getting excited about all these different coins, you're investing in all this different stuff, it's really easy to lose track. So find a few coins that are really, really, really good, like maybe 5, 10 coins, and just put as much as possible as you can into those ones. Concentrate it down onto the least amount of exchanges as possible. Hold the most amount of it as you can on like a Trezor or Ledger or a Trezor or Ledger or SafePal or whatever your favorite hardware wallet is, and just keep it simple and organized. The one benefit of it was that for years later, I would remember some random exchange that I had signed up for and go find like $5,000 somewhere and be like, oh, cool. But it still, was not a good thing. Like keep your money on as few exchanges as possible. Don't over diversify yourself, but definitely be diversified and keep things simple, right? Okay, let's see here. Hey, brother, thank you for all that you do. How about mana and compound? Yeah, we'll do mana and compound. So, mana. I wonder if there's a place with a little bit more data. There we go. Binance. So, this is actually, so we have mana over here on the left, Decentraland, mana, whatever you guys want to call it. And we have Ethereum over here on the right. And you can see how similar the market cycle is, right? So just again to bring home that point that something can look dead, but when a crypto bull market's getting ready to go full force, all those coins break out. They look dead and then they recover. And this cycle is set up for a lot of recoveries on a lot of really, really big names. A lot of really good coins that look just exactly like Decentraland over here. So if you study the cycle, you'll find the self-consistency across, again, all markets, all time frames. Look at the NASDAQ over here. Now with altcoins, you don't get quite as big of a double bottom pattern with the altcoin markets a lot of times, but you get the same market structure. So here's the NASDAQ on the right during the internet bubble, and here is Decentraland on the left during the 2021, 2022, 2023 crypto bubble, right? And you can see, look what happened. It's a market cycle of human emotion. What a surprise, right? Huge pump, huge pullback. And that's exactly what happens when people get too excited about something and then they get too fearful and they panic sell everything really fast because it doesn't keep going up like they thought it would forever. It creates a market cycle. But you can see the same structure in both of these markets, the same human emotion. And one of my favorite things to study in life is fractals and geometry. Geometry is it's just so cool. I love geometry. Fractals are amazing, and they're found everywhere. This right here is an actual plant. I don't know if you've ever been to the store where you go to the store and you see this plant right here. I forget what it's called. I don't remember the name of it. That right there is a plant, like a vegetable that people eat. And it's a fractal. So the little part is the same as the big part. The microcosm and the macrocosm are the same. And this is a principle that's self-consistent throughout the entire universe. You can find fractals everywhere. A tree, fractals. The branches fractal out in a fractal pattern. Here's another example of a fractal in nature. You'll find it with plants a lot. You'll find these fractals. So it's a self-consistent pattern that repeats itself on multiple different time scales. That's what a fractal is. It's a geometrical pattern. And the cool thing about fractals and the cool thing about Fibonacci is they work together. So when you see something like this This is a fractal of human emotion. That's why even though the NASDAQ were on the monthly time frame, so you're talking about over 10 years worth of price action right here, on Decentraland you're talking about 4 years. So this would be the microcosm right here because it's smaller, less time, and this would be the macrocosm because it's bigger and more time. And if you go back over and look at these fractals, you'll see in these fractals, the big circle looks the same as the little circle. So that's what a fractal is, and it's self-consistent across all time frames, all markets, but also throughout the entire universe. Fractals are. So that's what mana is a fractal of the internet bubble. But look what happened after the internet bubble popped that almost nobody talks about. Why? Because the internet is useful technology. So it recovered because it wasn't just a fad. It wasn't just something that people got excited about and then fearful of and then never came back to. They did get excited, they did get fearful, but then it was mass adopted because it was actually useful. And the same is true for these markets when we're trading crypto. They're useful. Cryptos they have a real world demand and use case. And if there's demand and limited supply, all you need is time and it's going to increase in value. I hold utility, XRP, FLR, XDC, Solo, AXL, XLM, HBAR, DAG, and ZBCN. Those are good holds. If you're a utility-focused crypto investor, those are all really, really good holds. Like every single one of those I'd stand behind. Spin out on Sierpinski's fractals. Sierpinski's fractals. I don't think I've ever heard of this before. Sierpinski's fractal foundation. Hey, this looks cool. Yeah, the entire universe is based on law and principle, and you're going to find mathematics and geometry on every single time, like scale of the entire universe, the macrocosm, the microcosm, it's all there. And Galileo said mathematics is the language in which God has written the universe, and I really believe that to be true. See, already did Piercoin. What's another good coin that we can cover for today that I didn't do yet? What about ETH? Is that going to hold well or crash? Yeah, let's talk about Ethereum. So Ethereum, just straight out, long story short, will recover. Based on everything that you see in the chart, this coin is going to go higher. And so let's pull up a little bit of a bigger time frame here. We'll zoom out, maybe higher than the 15-day, like the 1 month, and we'll take a look at what's happening here for Ethereum. So the first thing that you can see, the very first thing that you want to do when you're analyzing trends and cryptos in the bigger picture is pay attention to the higher high, higher low pattern. If a coin or a stock or a Forex market is making higher highs and higher lows, the trend is your friend. And you can see here we have a high and a low right here, higher high right here, higher low, short-term higher high, short-term higher low. So this could lead into a bigger higher high above this one right here. And that's what an uptrend is. And if you look at Ethereum too, from an Elliott wave perspective, so we have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and we're getting ready for a fifth wave for Ethereum. And that fifth wave could take us all the way to $10,000 per coin or even higher. The thing with crypto fifth waves is they go nuts. They go way crazy. Why do you think every bull market in crypto goes so ridiculously high that everybody feels like it's impossible and there's millionaires and billionaires made everywhere? It's because of the extended fifth wave. Crypto people get excited about crypto. It's pure human emotion. It's one of the reasons it's the most profitable market to trade in the world, is because there's so many new investors so excited about it. And the entry for crypto, it's really easy to get started. All you need is like an iPhone and you can get started trading in it. So everybody has access to trade it. So there's a bunch of new people, a lot of new money, and there's a lot of pure human emotion in these markets. And that's why we get these huge parabolic runs and massive crashes, because the emotion is more powerful in the crypto markets than it would be with the stock market, where people are just thinking, oh, you just buy stocks and hold, and you stop thinking about it. That's how most people look at the stock market. Crypto is a lot more of a pure human emotion kind of thing. So yeah, I do think Ethereum will recover here and go for a fifth wave. And I believe the fifth wave will stop either between 10,000 or 20,000, but I'm not going to try to pretend that I have a crystal ball and say that it's just for sure going to go to either one of those. But based on what I've seen in market cycles, this is what should happen here for Ethereum. It's actually a lot like Bitcoin back in 2017. If we pull up Bitcoin, you can see here what I mean. Let's pull up Bitcoin. So here's Bitcoin on the right, and here is Ethereum over here on the left. So imagine, this is what you got to do. You got to zoom out and think big picture. Most people don't do this. They're too afraid of losing money. But if you're able to zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture and take a look at what's happening in those bigger time scales, you're able to really get a better idea of what's really happening. And if you look at the smartest people in the world, the people that have really influenced this world in a big way, all of them were big picture thinkers. And if you look at the best stock investors, the best investors in the world, those guys are thinking big picture. They're thinking long term. They're zoomed out. They're not trying to make money next week. They're trying to make money over the long term. That's why they're so rich, because they understand that the long term is something that they can bet on. And if you look right here, this early part in the Bitcoin fractal, the 2017 bull market fractal, is actually a lot like right here with Ethereum. So something like this with a huge extended fifth wave, just like what happened to Bitcoin, where Bitcoin went from being worth, guess what, $3,000 all the way to 20,000. Ethereum could go from being worth 3,000, it's worth 2,500 right now, but we're at and around 3,000 recently. It could go all the way to 20,000 by 2029. So that's what I see with the Ethereum chart. do a video about SHX. You know, I've been really thinking about it. You are like maybe the 10th person now that has requested a video about SHX. So yeah, I'll do a video for you guys. Stay tuned for a video about SHX probably next week when I get back on to making regular videos. So yeah, cool. All right, we're an hour and 10 minutes in. Thank you guys for everybody that tuned in. I love you guys. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you guys in future live streams and videos. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel if you're not already, even though I don't really like asking people to subscribe to me for some reason. I just feel like if you guys like my content, you'll do it anyways. But yeah, I will see you guys in future videos and live streams. And as always, stay profitable out there.